Join us on another adventure with Wild and Free Interior Alaska, where we explore life off grid in remote Alaska, sharing our experiences either building in a challenging environment, hunting, fishing, trapping, and family time, just to name a few, and so many more adventures. What are we waiting for? Let's go! If you're just joining us, we are building a multi-use shed in remote Alaska at our off-grid cabin. This is a 12 by 16 shed. It's going to be used for a shower house, hence the very interesting placement of our windows we decided upon, as well as a workshop for snow machines in the winter and guest beds. It's going to kind of do it all, in theory, or so we hope. Our goal is to get it closed in before the snowfall, and hopefully our chimney kit arrives so we can also get that installed before we have several inches of snow on our roof. But time will tell. Today we are battling the wind. It keeps blowing over the camera because we're getting 45-mile-per-hour wind gust. Super fun to work in. Back to business. So we have the back walls on, we have the side walls on, and we're working on the front walls. We've got our windows installed and our door. We're kind of just wrapping those up here. And now we're trying to figure out how to place the panels around the door. Will we use a full sheet or will we cut it into several different pieces? That's the biggest debate because we need to figure out if we brought enough out here that we thought we might need. Figuring out those side pieces on against the lean-to roof was kind of difficult to figure out in advance. I mean, we probably could have, but it was easier to see where we ended up as far as how everything came together. So we're hoping that we have enough materials to finish all the siding without having to go well over 2 hours back to town, wait around several hours for them to get us one because they never have anything out on the shelves. So to avoid that, we did a lot of debating, per usual out here. We really try to think things through. Having both of our dads out here was really helpful to get different inputs and providing us different ideas of ways to accomplish this based on what we've got. So they were counting things, figuring out things with us so that we had a good plan before we moved forward. We used a scrap piece to fit in above the window. So in there, they're cutting the last piece of the siding. It's going to out of the full sheet, and we're cutting out the door essentially, and then we're gonna pop it up there. There's gonna be trim around the door, which is why we used the awkward scrap piece that we had, which is gonna be covered by the trim anyways, just so that we didn't have to cut into a full sheet for that last piece that we ended up installing up there. So it looks funny now. In the end, it should be all right. That's what trim is for, after all, right? So they ended up cutting out that piece out of the full panel around the door, slid it in there into the groove, and we lined it all up. Our issue is that our building isn't quite perfectly square, so it's running a little uphill at the bottom to keep the top mostly level. Now, that poses an issue because we want to make sure that there is enough overhang over the plywood in case anything super wet is somehow making it up there. So in the end, I think that we're going to either put a piece of trim board there along the bottom edge or add in some additional siding. We'll see. Time will tell. But for now, I think it'll be fine. It's going to function just perfectly. Yes, eventually I'll clean up our door. It was living under our deck for quite a while now, collecting a whole bunch of rain and muck. Now we are going to do that top section and hope for the best. I installed little handles on these sheets that are cut right here. And I'm going to be on the inside in there, monkeying my way across and holding them in place so that Cameron can attach it. Alright, change of plan. So we have an overhang that we are also going to be closing in so that the rafters up here, so that the rafters aren't just, open to inside. And so decided that would be easier to do before we close in that top so that I can be up there from the other side helping hold and nail and receive the boards, because once that siding's on, we only have one tall ladder to reach from out here. So it's kind of why we're trying to strategically do things. We did not bring out our other big ladder for this shed. So because I only had a ladder that then I had to hoist myself up onto that top wall up there and not necessarily have a ladder to support myself for very far, um, it was easiest if we were able to work on closing that all in first, where I could just support myself up there on that front wall, the upper front edge. So that's what you see me doing here. I am just holding on to the wall on the frame and putting it in place after my husband has measured, and we're debating what direction to put everything, and then once we got it in place, bing bam boom, we're installing it and moving right along. It looks easy, but honestly, it was not. Suspending myself up there on the 2x4 with the wind that keeps clearly taking down our camera throughout this process was a little challenging. Trying to just balance with my legs around those boards while having my hands completely free to hold that into place was a work of art. But you know what? We got it. This last one took lots of trial and error to cut out around that hurricane tie, and eventually we got it. Called it good enough. And courtesy of the wind again, you won't be able to see it come together, but I assure you, we got it after like, oh, probably 9 different tries. Once we got that top edge done to cover the rafters, we then moved our way along the front. And we decided we would do everything at once we're already there with the ladder to prevent having to keep shuffling it back and forth. So we were using that metal flashing strip to bridge both of them so that no moisture gets down behind the wall if it happens to run off of it. And then we're also putting up our trim board while we're up there as well, only attaching part of it so that we can then slide the other front siding in between there. We did use our 16-foot 2x4 as a way to help assist with holding that trim in place as well. You got to be creative out here when you only have so many tools and supplies and hands. I was so glad when this was over. It wasn't a lot of fun. Well, that was a little eventful, or just challenging, but we got it on. So we got all the siding on, we got the overhang covers on, the trim piece on for the very top. So the top's pretty much done. And we just have this wall, which is the doors to work on. We've already cut the tops. And then we got the back wall on, as you saw before, and the other side wall on, and the 2 windows in. Yeah, our window placement's interesting, but you know what? It worked. It worked. So you can see this outside wall, the window, and all the siding is on. I think that was pretty good progress for one day. Really glad to have both of our parents, our fathers, come out here and help us out. Having the extra hands was super nice. And although it was still raining and super windy, we still took a nice, beautiful walk. We wanted to get some blueberries that were out here and just kind of get some exercise and stretch our legs since we've been hoisting ourselves up on the side of the wall all day or on a ladder. It's nice to just kind of stretch your legs and enjoy what's around us, even if the weather is less than cooperative. And it's kind of been that way now for about a month, honestly. And I don't see that changing while we're working on completing this building, but we are getting much closer. And as long as we beat the serious snowfall and that awkward season when it's not enough snow to make it out there by snow machine, but too much snow for wheeled vehicles, I'll be quite happy. And hopefully one of these days we won't have such terrible cloud cover that I can actually capture some scenery pics for you that show the beautiful fall colors that are starting to happen. It's changing pretty quickly out here, but when everything's just kind of gray and dull, it's not as obvious as it is if the sun was shining. So you could see all the oranges, yellows, and reds, which is my favorite season minus all this rain we are having. And oh, we got so much more rain after this. All right, well, let's jump right back into it. We're going to be doing some additional building on this episode where we hopefully finish the walls and build some doors. So let's see what happens. I just finished cleaning up inside. I opted to stay inside and start doing some dishes and a few things like that so that when we are done building here today, it's one less thing that we need to take care of before we leave. It has been raining all night. It's still foggy, cloudy, beautiful fall weather here in Alaska. It is, I don't even know, temperature wise. I don't know where he put that. Oh, here it is. Probably 52. It's behind the grill. 52. It's not bad. It was very windy overnight, like extremely windy that they called for, but the building is still standing. So let's embrace the rain and go see where they're at. They're supposed to be starting with making the double doors for the snow machines to go through. And it looks like maybe they've got the header figured out while I was inside. I heard some sawing, pounding, drilling, you name it. So I think they have actually been pretty busy. How's it going?
You go back in the house. We're making progress.
The boss has arrived. Now look busy. Wow, look at that. You did get the header in. That was a good guess.
Told you we're making progress.
Yeah, and those studs, perfect.
See any spaces anywhere up there? Good tight fit.
It's perfect. Yeah, wow.
It is.
I don't know how you did that.
It, I'm sure.
That's pretty. It's pretty good. Now you on to the door measuring.
No, we're gonna do the side pieces so we can work
Oh,
on,
okay.
work on that while he's building the door.
Perfect. Okay. So side panels, and then we'll hang those side panels, and we've already cut those tops. So we'll put up the sides first and the top while he works on building the door. That's all we gotta do. Look at that. All right. By lunch? That's the goal. What time is it right now? I can't. 9? Are we at 9? A little after 9? All right. So he's giving him 3 hours to complete this. Whew. We'll report back if that happens. So while the upper siding was already cut, you can see it back there on the left-hand center side. We needed to install those front pieces around the door frame area before we could install those upper ones so that everything lined up. Also, probably should have the door in as well. That way, or at least the piece above the door. That way, when we're putting on our metal flashing and everything, it all lines up. So you need to do the bottom before the top.
Down there, 42 on
Two on this, yeah.
on this one, the top. Because we're gonna notch this out. So we'll go.
Oh, right. But this was your 42, or is this?
That was a 41 3/4.
You sure it wasn't the other way around?
Yeah.
It was 42 at the top?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Our new foster dog is quite talkative and she just wanted to be with us, but she was just out of reach on our lead. What?
Yeah.
So similar to going around our windows and doors, we are measuring for the little bit of the door frame and marking it and then cutting out around that. So there will be a little bit that goes over top of the door from this full sheet. And then we will fill in the piece in between, hopefully with a scrap piece that lines up pretty perfectly. And it will all mesh together and we'll have completed the entire bottom. So then we can install our flashing and move up to that little triangle portion along the ceiling.
So we're gonna have a piece to put in the middle,
Yeah.
so you probably don't wanna nail down that edge tight, because we have to, well, go over this one, goes under this one.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
It'll probably be the one that's right underneath of your sawhorses.
Tight, but we'll figure it out.
Tie it up.
Is that the, that's not the full, oh, go ahead.
No, yeah, the one down there is full length.
Is it?
Underneath that's what I said. It'll probably be the one under
If
the
it's
sawhorse.
7 inches, then that's just what we need.
It looks pretty close.
Probably ought to grab it before we wrap it.
That's what I was thinking.
Probably right down there, just a minute. That's gotta come your way. Oh,
Really?
Oh, they're hitting that edge.
Rock. Actually, they're not skated to top at all. The bottom would have to come to a view, Jay.
well, I'm sitting way over my thing here.
You already are?
Yeah, I'm 1/4 inch past, who measured?
Or, you know what, if we trim this, which has to be trimmed anyway, we can slide it right over the top as much as we need.
Okay.
It's not gonna
There's always some twist. So the edge of the siding on the back wall stuck out just a little too far, so Cameron was just going to use the Sawzall, trim that off, and then they would be able to slide it so everything was flush.
Yeah. Got your distance. Got your distance out there?
After Cameron cut that overhanging piece that was a little too long on the back siding wall, we were able to line this one up so that it was flush with the door frame like we wanted, and mostly get everything perfect and get it anchored down in place using our framing gun. And then anything that just looks a little wonky around the edges is going to be covered by trim once again. So not too concerned about it, but for the most part, it seems to fit pretty well. Now our next challenge is going to be seeing if that little piece right there is going to fit. Is the scrap piece going to be perfect or not? Moment of truth. The little hidden gem we found. Oh, can you slide it in?
Where's the let your end down.
That's right, Cameron did Just try not to. Can you squeeze it? He's doing it. He's doing it.
Yeah, switching.
There. Now Kim just needs to move his over maybe a little. There.
You hear on this. Down here more. Right? Or is KFC?
Yeah. Well, that one might have been a little low.
Okay.
It's really close, but.
Is it even at the top? Because that's where the metal piece will go over.
It's pretty, that's better.
Okay.
Woo! Look at that. Custom hand fit.
You can hit nails anywhere there. You got the whole header.
He can't make the nailer work out.
Is it jammed? Or is it out? Installed. That's the scrap piece that we found, and remember I said that we were debating, counting, and calculating to see if we would have enough siding. Well, we did end up having enough siding, especially by using the scrap piece that we were able to squeeze in there. Now, cutting those little triangle slices, if you will, for that last part used up a lot of the siding piece with a ton of extra scraps that just were not really useful after that. They were way too narrow, so we couldn't use them for something as far as like fitting in that little piece above the door frame. But we were able to use one piece off of around the other door that fit there. So we do have a lot of scraps. Not really sure what we'll do with them. They just wouldn't be useful for any other siding. But besides doing those triangles, which we already have cut there on the left side, it's just building the door, which we will need 2 full sheets to build the door out of them. And then, of course, the under the eaves on the back side, we'll need to close that in so that the rafters aren't exposed. So we also need like a sheet and a half for that we have calculated. So doing all of our calculations to figure out the sides of our door now and to make sure that we were going to have enough of the siding for the eaves and everything else was just our next challenge. Similar to the other side, if you remember, we just put up those little support braces for the frame wherever we thought that they should go. We just stuck them there. We didn't do any calculations to make sure that they were going to land where the siding was to attach to. So we did have to add in extra ones, as you see we're doing right here. But really, that just helps make it stronger, and it wasn't a big pain. And we also had to make sure that we did have enough 2x4s as well. So it took a little time to calculate and count everything to make sure that our little oopsie was going to be okay. And it was plenty fine. And then we just needed to trim things down a little bit on this side. They were almost nearly identical, but we were a little off on this side, so trimmed it just a hair and attached it. It was good to go. We added our metal flashing, that's what I'm holding in place, and made the proper adjustments once again that we needed to, as we suspected we might, but you want to measure a few times and only cut once, you know what they say. So that's what we did here, and voila, in it went. And after that, it was on to the door. When I'm talking about the door, this door is large enough for our snow machine to go in and out. It's going to be double swinging doors. Picture it like barn doors. That's how I like to describe it. That's what I was envisioning. Now, is ours going to be as pretty? Probably not. But is it going to function that way? Hopefully. Is the gigantic pile of snow that we get going to be a problem swinging the door? I'm sure you're wondering. And yes, we do suspect that it will. And we're going to have to keep clearing it away if we're ever going to want to be able to get this door open throughout winter. So yes, we have thought about that. Put my father-in-law in charge of this, using his brain and a few different plans and adapting it to the size of the door that we decided on. He's coming up with a plan. We'll see if it works out, and hopefully we can make any adaptations that we need to so that our door will actually work.
You gotta check the squareness on that to see where we're at.
It won't be perfect, but 320.
Pretty dang close.
Okay.
Alright.
Zinger. Well, that's what I was trying to tell. We've got a really
We're starting to build the door frames that siding is going to attach to, and we're going to have hinges on the outside of the building, like I said, similar to a barn door. So building the frame and making sure that it's square is obviously really important. So that's why we have our square here, and we are checking before we are installing our screws. We are using 5-inch screws. Right now on those outside edges to go all the way into that 2x4, and then we will attach the other slightly shorter 2x4 at the bottom with 3.5, I think it's 3-inch actually, screws. So we'll use those to attach it all together so it's nice and sturdy. And we're opting to use screws over nails because it helps it be a little bit more rigid.
You're square on that other one too?
Yep.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
What are you doing taking the 10 o'clock break there? You're supposed to be coming in.
This is the first thing to that
Now that we have the ends and edges all together, we need to put in that center support board and figure out where we think that should go. Ideally, the center, I would think, you know. And as my father-in-law is measuring here, remember how I said measure twice, cut once? You'll see.
You want it dead center? What?
Well, this is
What is that,
precisely 81.5, so the center is
40 and a
40 and a half. 40 and 3/4.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there.
You want it dead center. Just remember, you gotta do the other one the same.
Alright, well, it's gonna be at 40. This edge is at 40.
The center is the 40 and 3/4. Just about.
Let's see.
Don't
What? This?
Nah, too short.
Inside? What is it supposed to be total? It's 81 and
Well, she did it to the inside. She didn't go to the top.
No, but it goes to 81, right?
and a half.
Well, right, but going right to the top, yeah, 81 and a half, yeah.
I think it's 87.
That's a really short.
Yeah, I fucked up somewhere.
Yeah, how did you do that? I mean, I don't know where you came up with a 79 and whatever, I wasn't part of that one.
78 3/4.
Yeah, I don't know what you were measuring. Were you going off of the old measurements?
I mean, we can just add a board to the top and bottom to get there, but I just don't know. Yeah, I did.
Were you going off of the old measurements that were written down, the 80 and a half, is that why?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't have an explanation.
Okay.
87 and a half.
7.5, and that's 81.5.
Yeah.
So we need a piece on each end again. Give us-
Oh.
Well, then that.
No, that's
two
3
times.
inches. You need 2 pieces on each end.
Yeah.
81 and a half gets us.
Well, we were gonna leave
80
2, we're planning to leave 2. It didn't work out that way.
An inch to the top and an inch to the bottom, right? So if we add
So if
another
you-
81 and a half plus 3 is 84 and a half.
And that'll leave you 3 and a half to split between top and bottom if you wanted the clearance, right? You want,
That's
Yeah,
two.
we wanted, yeah, clear.
and so, right, so you
So that would be
should
an
alright.
inch and a half at the top and bottom,
Instead of,
So, right,
right?
so,
yeah, that'll work. Alright, so we
So
need
you
another
need-
piece.
That's whatever this distance is, the longboard.
looks like that'll make 2
And
on it,
measure
or
it
you already
down.
cut that one for length.
No.
As I previously mentioned in the beginning, we were making this door fit our opening, not any plan. So we had to keep adapting them using the same general idea, but adapting our measurements. And for whatever reason, somehow things got a little off, but that's okay because we decided to make this door a little bit more rigid and strong by adding another 2x4 at the bottom and the top. Honestly, it's only going to make it stronger and it's not going to hurt. And we had plenty 2x4s. Of course, they wanted to measure and count and make sure once again before they started making the cuts. But honestly, it didn't really matter because we needed it to get the doors in. And I was more than confident that we would have plenty because I definitely tried to get a few extra. You don't want to find yourself so far out here without enough supplies because then everything comes to an absolute screeching halt. You cannot do anything when you don't have any more. It's not really that simple and quick to just run to a store and pick up one board that you might be shy. So it's better to overestimate and get more than you need by just a little bit just to be safe or in instances when you make a mistake. It really wasn't that big of a deal. We figured out how to make this work, and as long as we could replicate it and make the other door identical, in the end, really no harm done. I actually think that it made for a much stronger door, which is really important here, than if we had actually got the measurements correct in the beginning. So, no big deal. You got to adapt and overcome. But yeah, measuring a few times before cutting is important, but sometimes there are ways to make up for it and fix your mistakes. The next thing to decide was whether to add the cross support boards or not. We all decided yes, it would definitely be necessary and help our door be more firm. So we cut those 2x4s in half, laid them underneath, and then traced each of them best we could as the pencil would fit in there to then begin cutting those angles so we could slide them back in and screw them together. Catch us on the next episode where hopefully we figure out these cuts, we finish building the door, we get them installed, and we'll be one step closer to finishing this shed, at least on the outside.
Thanks for joining us.
Give us a like and subscribe and follow for our next adventures on Wild and Free.
Interior Alaska.